If your rabbit's eating habits have slowed down, or you think something just a little bit off and you're not really sure if something's wrong or if you're overreacting a little bit, this video is for you. Last summer, spring, early in the year, I got a lot of DMs from people who, not gonna lie, were overreacting just a little bit, but they were stressing out about if their rabbit was getting overheated, and we hear so many horror stories about heat stroke and all of that. I want this video to put that at ease for you, okay? So we're gonna go through some things that I've learned over the 16 plus years of just looking at the habits of the rabbits and the common denominator between what's still normal, even though it looks a little scary sometimes, to what is something that you should probably take action on in some point. The first tip that I want you to take in, and I'm gonna say this with love, stop stressing, okay? This is where a lot of people get over analytical, and I even notice this sometimes when I'm stressing or watching things too closely. I see things that aren't there, and it's easy to do because, for one, they're a financial investment. A lot of people are emotionally attached. I've learned to protect myself over the years, but it's also something that you are supposed to do your best and steward them to the best of your abilities, and it's hard to know sometimes when something is actually there or you are stressing too much. And when you make a decision in a stressed out situation, it costs you money. It is harder to make a decision, and you don't know where the boundary lines are and what is necessary and what's not. So depending on what time of the year you find this video, it is for us right now, late March, early April, and we're starting to creep into the occasionally it's 45, 50 degrees and occasionally it's 70 degrees. Inconsistency like that throws the rabbits off, and ideally their temperature or preferred temperature is 50 degrees. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, or we equate them to what we are used to as humans, but we have to remember they don't live in an air-conditioned or heated area or home. And so when you have them in hutches or barns, or they're just a normal livestock animal, come on, let's be real here, their bodies have to adjust. And so for a couple of days when it's normally 50 something and then it's 75, then they're like, oh, this is hot. So you have to just be mindful of not freaking out, and when the temperature did spike some and they're not eating as much. It is totally normal for one of those spike changes for them to reduce their intake by at least a quarter of the normal amount. And so in a minute, we're gonna go out and go look at the habit that I feed them by, or my routine in that. And so that way you can maybe adapt that to yourself if it would be helpful. But we also have to remember that just like us, when it gets hot, their body slows down in their burn rate to help them stay cooler. And so the same goes with them, is that when we're not eating as much, neither are they. So just be okay with that. All right, so I've got a 3-day assessment window that I tend to watch them if I've noticed their feed or their intake has dropped. So on day 1, I don't really worry about it all that much. Especially if the temperature just went up. 99 times out of 100, it's the temperature spiking. If their food is about half gone, when really I would have expected them normally to eat all of it, then I'm kind of like, okay, well, we'll be mindful of that the next day. If you go out the following day and they didn't eat as much, or they hardly ate anything, then that's when you should definitely look them over, see what's wrong, and see if you can find anything externally that might be wrong. Maybe they need their nails trimmed, that, they might have tore one, or they might have an abscess on their foot, or bucks can get abscesses on their jaws from rubbing their chin. And so that's something you might need to check for. Make sure their teeth are, the top teeth are over the bottom teeth and they're not super long or going out to the side or anything like that. Maybe they broke one or both on top and they're having a hard time scooping up the food. So just look for something that might be wrong. If you can't find anything wrong, see what's going on. If they continue to not eat anything on day 3, then that's where you can do things like, I have calf manna, which I'll show you that in a minute. And then I also have lavender growing here in the yard, and I will give them a few sprigs of that. It's like a jack of all trades kind of herb. It's like a tonic, an antibacterial or microbial as well, I think. It really kicks out anything that can be they're just not feeling well, anything like that. And so that's why I like it so much. The other indicator of where they're not feeling well, or maybe they're doing fine and they're just not eating as much, is if they're hanging their head in the corner of the cage, or if normally they come up to you to get petted, but then they're just kind of like completely take off and are like, stay away from me kind of thing. Or maybe when you go to pet them, they kind of like crunch up in the corner and like flinch against you touching them, then that is the potential. Like some days they just have off days and we're left alone. But that is also an indication that they are, not normal. They're not feeling well. But if they're still bouncing around the cage and they're eating or acting normal and they're not losing weight, they probably just don't need that much. I've got one doe in particular that she eats about half of what the rest of them do. She's not losing weight. There's really no reason to be concerned about it. She's acting normal, but she's just not eating as much. And especially now that it's warmer, she's definitely not going to eat much. So let's go look at the feed and calf mina, and I'll show you my normal feeding habits. All right, so I've only got 10 total French Lops right now. So that's pretty low for us, but I usually will fill this bucket up about halfway, and it is a 20-quart bucket. But I usually, when we're at this max point, I'll fill it up to about the 12-quart spot totally and use about half to 2/3 of it. But then I've got the calf mina in a bag because it's not hard for wild animals to get in here, and it smells sweet. So for the half amount, I'll end up putting, it's about 2/3 of a cup, and I'll sprinkle it across in there, but I always make sure it's mixed up. And I'll show you the consistency that I want to see each animal get. That's still a little bit much. That's not bad, but I would like even a little bit less. I only want like 10 pellets per adult. So I'll throw another scoop in there, mix it up a little bit, and that also helps get some dust out of there too. That's pretty ideal there. So I'm not going to mix any more today because I'll probably end up using most of this, but we're at, I know you can't read it from here, but we're looking at about 6 to 8 quarts in that amount of the bucket. So that's plenty there. All right, now these hutches back here have a tarp on them because the sun's coming in directly from over there. So they would be in direct sunlight when the sun's out. So make sure to be mindful of that. If they are in any direct sunlight for any amount of time, that can roast them real quick. So my feeding habits typically are around between 1 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And a lot of the reason for that is so that I can know it's been about 24 hours since I last fed them, so they should have eaten all of this amount. That's why I don't feed multiple times a day. They get pellets only. Occasionally I'll give them a treat, but I want to make sure they're eating all the nutrients in the food. Your vegetables, all that junk, there is barely any protein value and hardly any fiber when it comes to vegetables. Hay, it depends on where you're getting it from. Unless you are getting it from a horse quality level hay and it's good, strong quality, not just like, oh, there's no weeds or, it's not sprayed with a ton of pesticides. That kind of thing still does not have the good protein level. The pellets should be about 16 to 18% protein. Most hays are 12 to 9%, as low as 9%. So if they are filling up on the hay that does not have that protein level, they're not going to get the level that they need. So just think about it before you're adding all this extra junk that a lot of people say you need to. Okay, so I'm going to show you her feed right now. It's a little early. I'm about 2 hours early because I needed to get this video recorded. So she's only eaten about half, but I want you to watch her behavior when I put this in. This is a 4-month-old, and she's one that I have to watch because she is a youngster, and this calf mina stuff is almost like candy for them. So you have to be really careful about the youngsters. The adults don't tend to do it as much, but they will dig for it in their food sometimes. And I had a group of them last year that they just dug for it and kicked all the food out of the bowl, and then they wouldn't eat the other stuff. So you just got to be careful. This is meant to be eating your food, not candy. This does not have the nutritional value that their pellets do. So let me show you how she does with this. Yeah, can you smell it? She's like, oh yeah, I can smell it. She's only eaten about half, but watch her behavior. She's like, yep. You just want a head rub today? Okay, we can do that. Hi, what is up with you? I'll take that. Maybe I'll back away and see if she goes to find it. Yeah, there she goes. Yeah, she's picking, see, look at her. She's picking the pink stuff out. Uh-huh. Yep, you naughty little girl. She's not super hungry, so that's probably why she wasn't digging for it. But she knows it's in there now. No, ma'am. So when they do that, what I will do is lift it up to where she should be able to just get her head in there and then not dig her feet down in it. She might do it again. We might have to raise it up again. But yeah, see, it's a lot higher, so it's a lot harder for her to get her feet in there. She has to stand up on her tippy toes. No. So we keep raising it until she just has to sit up on her butt and she can't get her feet in there. Yep, you naughty little girl. Yeah, see, now she can just stand up there. She shouldn't be able to dig. But if she doesn't, then she's going to dump all her food out and not be able to get it. So yeah, teaching people how to train their naughty little rabbits. All right, so try to feed at a normal, consistent time within an hour window, if at all possible. Pick something that if it's before work or if it's after work, those would be a more ideal time. If you tend to get somewhere at a normal time, but you could be hours different in the evening, then maybe try the morning. But the only difference with that, I would just say, is like if life is completely unpredictable for you, just be mindful that maybe if they haven't eaten as much as you thought they should, are you a couple hours earlier than normal? So just be mindful of that too. The reason I feed at one consistent time all the time is so that I don't have to go, okay, how many hours am I different from yesterday? And go, okay, are they eating enough? That kind of thing. It's more for me. Be mindful of that. If you need to make an adjustment for the heat level or the shade level, trees are the number one thing that will help you keep your rabbits cool. A shade like a barn is okay. That's all you got, but the nature is the best coolant system out there. If you checked all the things, you went through the couple of days to see how, are they doing okay? I can't find anything wrong. They're still not eating right. Potentially they're losing weight and you're just not sure, how to fix it. They're still not eating. The next decision or the next step is up to you. I cannot tell you whether you should take them to a vet or not. It has to be a boundary decision that you decide to make, and you knowing how far you're willing to go and what you can afford. For one, you should never put your family in financial straits or hardship over an animal. Just full stop. And I know ahead of time what my financial limits are as far as what I'm willing to spend and what seems logical enough for me. And I make those decisions ahead of time so that in the moment I know these are the guidelines, these are the rules, these are the boundaries, and we're sticking to them. And so those have just been such a fallback, a safety net for me to know this is what we do, this is our rules around that. And I can take comfort in that, knowing this is how far we're going to take it. And if it goes beyond what we're willing to do, this is the protocol essentially that we're going to take. And that's it. We don't have to feel guilty about should we have gone farther? Should we have spent more? All of that. Know your reasons, know the why behind them, and no one else can decide that for you. And you have to go with what you're comfortable with. And I will say that you need to remember, if you're extremely, you're super attached to your animals or you've not been around them long enough to kind of just know that this is life. Animals get sick, they die. They sometimes go beyond what is logical to spend on them. And so just make that decision for yourself, and just know that there, at least in the US anyway, there is no law or requirement around what you have to spend or if you're required to take them to the vet at all. And so no, that's why I find so many people act like animals are equal to humans, and they're not. And so as hard as some people might not want to hear that, they're not equal to humans. And so don't feel obligated to go the same mile as you would for a family member. Okay. So if your rabbit had stopped eating or slowed down eating or just acting a little funny, I hope this video brought it back to a lower panic level for you. And just know that you need to the key here is to know your animal's baseline, watch for unpredictable or changes in their behavior for one, but also in nature, in their environment, because that's likely going to be the cause of it. And then know what you're willing to do. And if you love practical, no nonsense, kind of slightly old school thinking, this is what I talk about here on this channel. And both for people who just want to have fun with their farm, what they consider farm rabbits or their farm animals, and their livestock. And so we're going to take it a little bit more of a practical approach. So if that is you, definitely subscribe to the channel and drop your questions below. I would love to take those questions into thought for other videos. And I cannot legally tell you veterinary wise what to do, but it also feels good to have someone in your corner knowing that this is what she would do. All right, I'll see you in the next video.